what's up? We're back for the Music City Surrey Showcase, where we highlight talented musicians and artists in the city of Surrey, thanks to the city of Surrey. My name is Keely Ramage-Scott, and I've got a returning guest today. This is Mr. Colin Sankey. Colin, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So it's been a year since we saw you last. You've had a couple of things happen. Most prominent that I noticed was a feature on the Scott's Bass License Instagram, which for the non-bass nerds, people probably wondering what the heck I'm talking about. But for me, that was a pretty big deal. So tell me about all of the interesting things that are new, social media wise, music wise.
Yeah. So last year I won the Phil Jones solo bass contest. That was one of my biggest achievements of 2022. First place in New York. And I've told this story a million times at my gigs, but I got there and I was super nervous, and I was meeting all the contestants and all the host and everybody, and they were, the host was being like, oh, this guy from Chile, who couldn't make it today, he could have schooled all of you. I know what you can do. I've seen all your videos. And, one of the judges was pointing to one of the contestants who wasn't me. And he was like, this guy's a monster and all this type of stuff. So I was very nervous, but I won first place, and the host put his hand on my shoulder and he said, are you for real, bro? And I was so flustered, I didn't even know what to say. I said, maybe. And apparently one of the judges, who was Paul Simon's former bass player, said something along the lines of, I guess they do it differently in Canada, eh? So I guess that's what we do. We go down and we win and we come back. That's the type of thing. But yeah, it was a great experience, though, otherwise, to get that validation from the judges.
I don't even know it. That's so good.
Yeah.
But who opens a conversation with, oh yeah, this guy's good and this guy's good and this guy's good and this guy's good? Like you're at a competition, they start singling people out. That's the first I've ever heard of that happening.
Yeah, it was a very nerve-wracking experience. I get the feeling that down there it's just different communication styles than up here. People. Yeah. There's a stereotype that Canadians are more polite or something, or reserved.
Well, New York is another level entirely. You go to New York as a musician, you're immediately like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's quite intimidating. So, but I got there and it was, everybody was kind of pretty like boisterous and fun and friendly, but there was that air of definitely being intimidated. But I mean, I won first place by exactly 69 points, by the way. So
congratulations. That's awesome.
Very, very long shot. Yeah. But it was just they were all great bass players in their own right, but it was kind of my wheelhouse of what we were doing there. It was like a solo bass thing that I've been kind of honing for a long time. And so, yeah, that was the reason for my success there.
Yeah, because this is a style that you've been mastering for years and years and years to come. Right. Did you spend a lot of time kind of checking out the other contestants on social media and stuff before you went down, or did you just go in completely blind?
I did. I do have a tendency to try to over prepare for things, and I want to know everything. So I did look up all of them on Instagram, and all the ones I could find, I just watched all their videos to see what I was up against.
Doom scroll. Yeah.
Exactly, right, and to see how the piece I had chosen would kind of measure up against what they were doing. So I kind of knew going into it what to expect. But that doesn't change the fact that when you're in that room, there's still that heart-pounding kind of nervousness.
Oh, totally.
When you get there, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, totally.
Wow. So being on a platform like that, or being on a platform like your TikTok, which has blown up, what's more intimidating? Knowing that lots and lots of people are seeing you, or knowing that more people within the bounds of your profession are seeing you? Are you more scared of those judges and the people that'll have those skills, or more scared of the general public?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess with judges, they know what they're listening to, and so I'm always kind of intimidated when my work is going to be adjudicated in some way, because I'm these guys are guys that really know their stuff, and and I have a little bit of imposter syndrome. I'm are they going to find out I'm a fraud or something, or are they going to find out that are they just going to think my music is too cheesy or too
Yeah.
too technical and not musical enough or something, right? So there's that kind of intimidating factor. But with the general public, my worry is always that is my music even marketable
Yeah.
to these people because it's esoteric in a way, right? So
Which is so interesting that you bring that up too, because I know that a huge part of your TikTok brand has been like those videos comparing what musicians want to listen to versus what the general public want to listen to. And I know you've had some people comment not so nice things in response. Like what is your response to like quote unquote hate comments on people are like, oh, that's not what a bass is supposed to sound like. You know what I mean? It's just supposed to hold down the rhythm, sit in the back.
right. Well, yeah. So with those type of people, the best policy is always to not respond, which is something that I've failed to do time and time again.
I love your responses though. I think they're great.
It's I do, I will like sometimes take the bait or I'm just like, oh, I see those and I'm like, I know I shouldn't respond and then but I see that comment and it's making me so like just like riling me up so much that I'm like, all right, I'm going to take this guy down, right? So,
Yeah.
And then I'll respond and say something along the lines of, I've seen a lot of comments that say, for example, that technical musicianship doesn't equal art or something like that, and oh, you're not supposed to be playing the bass like that. You're supposed to be holding down the grooves, all this type of stuff. And I'm like, but there's no one way to play this instrument. I mean, do we say to guitarists who shred, oh, you're supposed to just play the rhythm in the background. Remember the good old days of jazz big band? It's like there's so many timbres and qualities that are available to this instrument that to fault somebody for exploring that is really, in my opinion, very narrow-minded and just not based in any kind of logic. It's just like, oh, like I don't like the way you're playing, so I'm gonna invalidate it. But it's like at the end of the day, there's no reason to invalidate it. That's just an opinion that they have. It's not the word of God, right? So, I mean, so I will sometimes kind of take the bait and try to like debate with them, and I always end up regretting it. It's always time wasted, and you should instead, turn those hate comments into good ideas for another video. Like one hate comment I got was something like, well, I was taking the theme of like, oh, your playing is too technical, so I made a bunch of videos that. When they say that were captioned with when they say your playing is too flashy or technical, that got hundreds of thousands of views. So sometimes you can spin their comments around in a way that can benefit you. That's probably the best way to respond if you're going to respond at all.
Those are my favorite responses of yours.
Yeah.
I love those videos that you make. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And obviously, you're right. It's not word of God because people keep booking you for shows knowing full well that this is what you do. And I know people that have come across you at Sofars and have just gone, wow, he's absolutely wicked. So it's definitely taste versus what people think is right,
Exactly, right.
You mentioned earlier to me that you're working on a new EP. You're just writing that at the moment. Any idea when that's going to come out? Is it going to be similar to the album that you released last year?
Yeah. So I'm working on a new EP. We started recording the first couple songs. We recorded the first couple songs last week. There's 2 full band kind of funk-oriented songs, like a lot of jazz fusion influences. And then I still have yet to record the rest of the songs. I'm not even sure what the rest of the songs are going to be, but I know for sure my version of the Mario theme is going on there. So I'm going to do a whole medley of the different Mario themes, the underwater theme, this Mario World theme, and of course the main theme, just to kind of tap into that nostalgia.
So good.
Yeah, and so I'm going to try to get it out by like February or March of next year, hopefully. Basically, the release date is just kind of timed to be ahead of the WCMA deadline because I want to see if I can apply for one of those again.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's no kind of hard release date
Awesome.
planned.
Well, that's great. We'll watch out for that. And something I wanted to ask you is if you had a piece of advice to give to somebody who is just starting out in music, what would it be?
A piece of advice. The most important thing about music is that it's a sort of a language, right? And so with language, what we use it for is communicating with people and expressing your ideas. So with music, that's what you're doing. You're communicating and expressing your ideas with people. So the most important thing is just to find joy in expressing your ideas as a musician, because that's where you're going to find the intrinsic motivation to keep doing it. Otherwise, if you're just kind of bogged down by, I have to practice today and all this, you're not going to really find any joy in doing music and moving forward. You're just going to view it as a chore. So you need to find some time in your practice routine or whatever to find something that inspires you or something that really motivates you to keep going and bring some joy into your life musically. Otherwise, I've seen countless students just like kind of just quit or lose interest over time when they were initially excited about it because they were just bogged down by the practice. So you want to find some joy and some balance in there to really tap into in order to just have the motivation to keep going.
That's a great piece of advice. That's an awesome way to spin the bogged down with the practice ritual. Remind us where we can find you online, Colin.
You can find me online on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, as well as my website. If you just search up Colin Sankey Bass, so my Instagram handle or my social media's handles are all at Colin Sankey Bass. And if you just search up my name, you should probably find me. But if you don't, if you just add the word bass, you'll definitely find me.
Sounds good. All right, we're going to have you perform another song for us coming up next. And thanks to everyone at home for tuning in to another episode of the Music City Surrey Showcase. We'll see you next week.
Sick.